7 victims lost their lives. 3 killers lost theirs in August 2025. Byron Black, Tennessee, August 5. The first death row inmate to be executed was Byron Black. The state of Tennessee resumed executions this year after a 5-year pause. Black was 32 years old when he committed the crimes for which he got the death penalty. Back in 1986, he was in a relationship with a woman named Angela Clay. She was 27. Angela was married to Benny Clay and they had 2 small daughters. Their marriage was not going well, so at the time Angela met Byron, she was separated from her husband but not officially divorced. In December the same year, Byron Black got into an argument with Benny Clay, and during that dispute he shot Angela's husband, wounding him in the shoulder. Because of this, Black was arrested and sentenced to 2 years in prison. His time in prison, though, was not as bad as you might think. At that time, prisons had certain programs in which the inmates with good behavior had the opportunity to work outside of the institution unsupervised, with the condition that they report back once their shift was over. In March 1988, Byron Black was part of such a program and he was on work release. He had already served the majority of his sentence and in a few months he was about to be set free. He contacted Angela, but according to reports, she made the decision to end things with Black because she was trying to rekindle the relationship with Benny, her husband. On March 28, 1988, Byron Black went to Angela's home. She was asleep when he entered her bedroom and shot her once in the head, killing her. Her 9-year-old daughter Latoya was right next to her, and Byron shot her in the neck and chest. He then went in the second bedroom where 6-year-old Lakeisha was, and he shot her as well in the chest and in the pelvic region. The investigation revealed that the little girl put up a fight and she really tried to defend herself, but the close-range shots ended her life. If Angela was in deep sleep and she probably didn't even realize Black had shot her, dying within just a couple of minutes, that was not the case with the 2 little girls. Latoya struggled for up to 10 minutes and Lakeisha for up to 30 minutes. After the murders, Black reported back to prison like he had done many times before. Meanwhile, the police was sent to Angela's house for a wellness check because her family was worried they couldn't get in touch with her or the kids. That's when the officers discovered the bodies. Black was a suspect from the start, but initially there was no evidence to link him to the murders. The authorities did manage to connect him to the crimes when they compared the bullets found at the house with the one that Benny had been shot with. Black used the same gun. He denied being the one who killed Angela, Latoya, and Lakeisha, saying he did go to the house and saw the bodies, but because he was afraid, he didn't say anything to anyone. The prosecution pursued the capital punishment, and in the end, Byron Black received 2 consecutive life sentences for the murders of Angela and 9-year-old Latoya, but he got the death penalty for the murder of 6-year-old Lakeisha. She had just turned 6 about 10 days before Black shot her. He actually got the guilty verdict on the day Lakeisha would have turned 7. Throughout the years, Black's lawyers tried to overturn his death sentence several times, but every time he ended right back on death row. He also had multiple death warrants signed and was about to be executed on multiple occasions, but he managed to avoid the lethal injection due to stays and reprieves. This year, however, his luck ran out. After 37 years, 69-year-old Byron Black was put to death by lethal injection. One controversy regarding his death was about his implanted defibrillation device. His attorneys tried to obtain a permit to have this device deactivated before the execution, fearing that during the protocol, his heart would be shocked multiple times in an attempt to restart it because of said device. He was ultimately denied the deactivation because that would have required a stay of the execution, which the courts were not willing to allow. For his last meal, he had pizza with mushrooms and sausage, donuts, and butter pecan ice cream. During the procedure, Black seemed to be in pain, at one point exclaiming, "It's hurting so bad." The cause of his apparent discomfort has not yet been determined. His attorney stated that they plan to examine the data recorded by the device as part of the autopsy review. Black refused to give an official last statement. During the 37 years he was on death row, he never once apologized for what he did. After spending decades behind bars before execution, do you believe the death penalty still serves its purpose in cases like this? If in Byron Black's case it took 37 years to carry out the execution, this next inmate spent 43 years on death row before he was finally put to death. Kyle Barrington Bates, Florida, August 19. Kyle Bates was not your typical killer. In fact, the crime he committed was inexplicable and nothing pointed to the fact that he was capable of doing such a thing, nor he had any reason to. He was sentenced to death for the murder of 24-year-old Janet Renee White in 1982. She was abducted from the insurance office she was working at, a State Farm office. Kyle Bates had a somewhat normal childhood. His parents did have a troubled marriage, but they eventually got divorced and remarried. Kyle had a good relationship with both his biological parents and the step-parents he got along the way. He also got along very well with his sister and with his stepsister, the daughter of his father's new wife. Although he did not excel academically, he was always well-behaved and well-liked by pretty much everyone, his friends, his teachers, and his family. He joined the military after graduation, and he was regarded as a good soldier who followed orders, but he had some sort of cognitive limitations, which kind of got in the way of him being promoted. While in the army, he also worked as a truck delivery driver. He got married to his stepsister's friend from college and became a father. Again, this man was considered a good colleague, a great husband, and an incredible father. Sometime in 1982, he and his wife bought a new house because they were expecting their second child and needed more space. Kyle was hoping to get a promotion in the Florida National Guard, which he didn't get because he failed a test. Now, that would be the only reason the psychologists would think of when trying to identify the motive for his crimes, that he was under financial stress because he was not getting a pay raise, and he had a second child on the way after buying a new house. On the morning of the murder, Kyle had breakfast with his pregnant wife and his toddler. He even watered the lawn before leaving for work. Before noon, he stopped by the State Farm Insurance office, where he had a brief conversation with Janet Renee White, then he left. Janet also left to have lunch at home with her husband, Randy. They had been together for 8 years, and they were very much in love. That weekend, they were together on a romantic getaway. Randy prepared a sandwich for Janet, and they ate while watching Days of Our Lives. They both went back to work after that, and he followed her to her workplace to make sure she got there safely. When Janet entered the office, the phone was ringing, so she managed to answer it, but right after that, she was attacked by Kyle Bates, who was waiting for her to return. The person on the other side of the phone heard commotion and horrible screams, so she notified the police. When the officers arrived at the scene, they noticed that there were signs of struggle in the office, and soon after, they spotted Kyle Bates exiting the woods nearby. He had dragged Janet to the woods where he tried to essay her, but wasn't able to, and then he stabbed her multiple times. He also stole the diamond ring she had on. Now, when the officers spotted Bates, he was covered in Janet's blood. They also found her body and the knife used to stab her soon after. Janet suffered 30 wounds in total. Bates denied killing her. He said he found her body in the woods while trying to get some cattails. He got scared and he fled. He then changed his account, saying he also saw a white male that was hitting Janet. Forensic testing, however, uncovered the evidence. There was genetic material that belonged to Bates on Janet's underwear from the attempted essay. After being sentenced to death, Kyle Bates reverted back to his good behavior and old self. Nobody understands to this day what happened to him that he was capable of committing such a terrible act. Janet's husband attended the execution. 67-year-old Kyle Bates was executed by lethal injection. He declined the final special meal and he didn't have any last words. If given the choice, would you have sentenced Bates to death or life without parole? I mean, I'm not sure I agree with the capital punishment for Bates, considering he did not live a life of crime before the killing and he was regarded as a good person in general. Curtis Wendham, Florida, August 28. The third inmate executed in August was from Florida as well. Curtis Wendham spent 33 years on death row before facing execution for the 3 murders he committed back in 1992. On the morning of February 7, 1992, Curtis Wendham learned that Johnny Lee, a friend who owed him nearly $2,000, had won about $100 at the dog track. After hearing this from his friend Jack Luckett, Wendham made it clear that he intended to kill Lee, even telling Luckett that he would soon see it on the news. The money debt was not the only thing troubling Curtis Wendham. He had been in an on-again, off-again relationship with Valerie Davis. There was a rumor that his friend Johnny was somehow romantically involved with Valerie behind his back. Later that same day, Wendham bought a .38 caliber revolver at Walmart, a purchase confirmed by the receipt. The store clerk who sold him the gun later recalled that Wendham appeared calm as could be. Armed with the revolver, Wendham tracked down Lee, who was standing beside the road speaking with two women. Their common friend Luckett was also there. Wendham drove up, shot Lee twice in the back, and then stepped out of his car to fire two more shots at close range. After killing Lee, Wendham headed to the apartment complex where his girlfriend, Valerie Davis, lived with her mother, Mary Lubin. Wendham, who shared a child with Davis, also used to live there. At the time, Davis's friend Cassandra Hall had just arrived and witnessed Wendham shoot Davis in the chest without any provocation, killing her instantly. As Wendham fled the apartment, he crossed paths with Kenneth Williams and shot him at close range in the chest. Williams survived the attack and later testified that Wendham looked abnormal and visibly disturbed just before pulling the trigger. Williams required 30 days of hospitalization. Wendham then ran behind Brown's bar, where several of his friends, including his own brother, attempted to take the gun away from him, but they couldn't do it. Meanwhile, Mary Lubin, Valerie Davis's mother, had learned her daughter had been shot and was on her way home. As she stopped at a nearby intersection, Wendham approached her vehicle, said something to her, and then shot her twice, killing her. Curtis Wendham was later convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted first-degree murder. The child Wendham had with Valerie Davis was a daughter named Curtisia. Over the years, she came to forgive her father for murdering her mother and grandmother. She was only 9 months old when her father took her mother from her. Curtisia pleaded for her father's life, arguing that if she was able to forgive him for what he did that impacted her life so much, no stranger should have a say in the matter. When the curtain to the execution chamber opened, Wendham's face was covered with a sheet. Moments later, he received a lethal injection made up of 3 drugs. In his final words, he mumbled something about being on death row, though it was not clearly understood. As the injection began, he took several deep breaths, his legs twitched briefly, and then his body became motionless. Wendham's last meal was ribs, baked beans, collard greens, potato salad, pie, ice cream, and a soda. Wendham showed no hesitation in carrying out multiple murders. Do you think people like him should face quicker executions? For the month of September, several death warrants have been signed and are active. Ralph Menzies from Utah will face a firing squad execution for a murder he committed in 1988, 37 years ago. David Joseph Pittman from Florida was sentenced to death for killing his estranged wife's parents and sister 35 years ago. Geoffrey Todd West from Alabama will be executed via nitrogen hypoxia after being convicted of killing a convenience store clerk during a 1997 robbery. Blaine Millam from Texas will be executed for beating his girlfriend's toddler to death with a hammer in 2008 during a so-called exorcism. Please hit that subscribe button if you like my channel. See you next time. Bye bye.